Hi everyone, and welcome to November's Pensionmark webinar, where we will be discussing Social Security. We appreciate all of you taking the time to join us today. A few items to go over before we get started. First, in order to ensure everyone has the ability to hear the information presented by our guest speaker, everyone will be on mute during the webinar. Second, please feel free to write in any questions you have using the Q&A tool on the webinar menu. At the end of the webinar, we will take the time to go through these together. Third, there will be polling questions throughout today's webinar. All results are anonymous and we really appreciate your participation. Now I'd like to introduce to you our guest speaker of BlackRock, Jennifer Taboada. Jennifer is head of Social Security Consulting Team at BlackRock. In this role, Jennifer serves as a national specialist on the topic of Social Security. She has been in the financial services industry for over 10 years, responsible for creating, implementing, and presenting a broad array of financial planning topics for investment management and financial advisory practices. She attended Seton Hall University, where she received a BS in International Economics and a BA in Modern Languages with a specialization in Spanish and Italian. Thank you for presenting today, Jennifer, and now I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. Again, thank you all for being on the call. For about the next, I would say, 45 to 50 minutes, I will be discussing topic of Social Security. And as many of you know, right, this topic tends to be one of the hottest topics out now, specifically more for the reason that other than your Social Security statement that you receive in the mail every once in a while, there's really nothing that we really know about Social Security, right? Social Security is not walking around with pamphlets, handing them out, saying, hey, this is how you should be taking your benefits. Now, there is no wrong and or right way to collect your Social Security benefit, but there are ways in which you can employ strategies in order to receive the most you possibly can from the government. So with that, let me see if I have, Renata, do I have control of the slides yet?
Yeah, you should have right now.
Excellent. All right. So Social Security, it was initiated in the 1930s as a supplemental income to those that, that were elderly and were no longer working, right? And in the 1930s, the full retirement age, so the age in which Social Security allowed you to take your Social Security benefits without penalty, was 65 years old. But the average life expectancy at that time actually was only around 55. So if we think about it, guys, right, you're only living till 55, but they'll pay you out the maximum at 65. Well, things have obviously changed dramatically since then, because a couple that's reached the age of 65, one of you has a 50% chance of living until the age of 93, and one of you has a 25% chance of living until the age of 98. And the reason I stress this is because, well, clearly we're all living 20, 30 plus years into retirement, and how you collect your Social Security benefits will not only affect how you receive your benefit, but also how possibly what your spouse receives through the rest of their lives, right? And since you have 20, 30 plus years that you need this income, we want to make sure that you're receiving the most you possibly can, right? Because unfortunately, over half of those currently collecting Social Security are collecting it at a permanently reduced rate. And if you're probably wondering, well, why is that? That's a great question, because, well, most of the time because you can. Right, you've been paying into this your entire life, and now you want to start receiving some of that amount. But collecting early doesn't necessarily, mean the best strategy for every one of us. So again, no wrong and or right way to take your Social Security benefits, but we want to make sure that you have all the information that you need in order to make the best decision possible. So let's go over now some of the basics about Social Security, because in order for you to understand some of the strategies that we're going to go over later, you kind of need to understand some of the basics. And in order to even qualify for Social Security benefits, you had to have earned 40 credits, right? And you can earn up to 4 credits per year. So a minimum of 10 years that you need to work into the system and pay into the system in order to be eligible for benefits on your own record. Now, the way that they come up with the amounts that you'll be estimated to receive at your age 62, full retirement age, and age 70, right, is that they look at your earnings history. And if you look there in front of you, you'll see that there's a example of a Social Security statement, right? That is your history page. It's similar to what you look like on your Social Security statement. And what they do is they take the best 35 years of your work history, and that's how they come up with the estimate of those benefits at 62, full retirement age, and age 70. So a lot of people think that this is actually based on your entire work history. It is not. Again, it's the best 35 years. So how to use this to your advantage? Well, if you worked more than 35 years, for every single year that you make more than one of those 35, come next year, your benefit will automatically increase. If by chance you didn't work for 35 years, let's say you only worked for 10, right? You qualified for Social Security benefits, but let's say you were a stay-at-home parent and you didn't have 35 years paid into the system. Well, as long as you qualify, right, you'll receive those Social Security benefits. But if you continue to work or start working from then on, for every single year that you replace one of those zeros with a number, guess what? Come next year, your benefit will automatically increase. Now, when you look at these benefits, I would suggest always think of them as a rough estimate. And I say that because that's exactly what they are, right? They're called your estimated benefits for a reason. And that's because Social Security assumes that you'll be working and earning what you're currently earning, right? So from last year and this year, up until the day that you actually retire. So for example, Social Security assumes your 62 number, your estimate at 62, is assuming you're working and earning that income up until age 62. Same thing for your full retirement age and same thing for your 70. So if you by chance decide to retire at 62 but not take your benefit until full retirement age, well, Social Security assumed that income up until full retirement age, meaning that estimate can now be a lot less than what you had originally anticipated. Right? And it works the other way around if you continue working. So my suggestion is always reach out to your financial advisor with your full Social Security statement and let them know, hey, listen, I plan on retiring at X date so that we can better estimate exactly what might those benefits look like at that particular point in time. Because again, they are estimates. Now you can receive your Social Security statement in the mail, right? You can get it every 5 years. Actually, they'll send it out in hard copy. So your major birth dates is 55, 60, 65, etc. If you want your statement before then, which I do recommend that you look at it on an annual basis, you need to go to the Social Security website. And the way you get there is by going into www.ssa.gov. If you're like me, I'm a visual learner, I'll never remember that, but if you think of SSA backwards and you think of the government, you'll never forget that website. Right? So now once you get on there, you'll be actually able to sign up and receive your Social Security statement right away and be able to print it out and show it to your financial advisor. It's similar to filling out like information for your credit report. They ask you a few personal questions, and then once you get there, you'll print them out. I do suggest that you keep them for at least a year. Right? Pretend like they're your taxes. Right? Your taxes you keep every single year. Well, Social Security statements should be no different. And that's because Social Security openly admits on messing up on 7 to 8% of these statements. Meaning there could be zeros in your work history that you know for sure you worked and you had an earnings history. And unfortunately, you do have a statute of limitations as to how long you can report that error. And that's 3 years, 3 months, and 15 days. So this is the reason why I say to check it on an annual basis, because if you had an error in 1985 and you just realize now, guess what? That error is now yours, and unfortunately that error will remain on your report for the rest of your life. So again, just check them every year so you can make sure they're correct and reach out to Social Security if it is incorrect. All right, so now that you've qualified for Social Security benefits, right, when's the earliest you can actually start receiving those benefits? Well, you can start getting them as early as age 62, but keep in mind that this is going to be at a permanently reduced rate for the rest of your life. Once you've reached your full retirement age, that's the age at which Social Security wants you to be retired. So think of that age as like your sweet spot, right? That's the age at which they allow you to collect 100% of your benefit without penalty. After your full retirement age, for every single month and year you wait to collect, Social Security basically pays you not to take your benefit all the way up until the age of 70. And we're going to go over that in a little bit more details in a few slides. Now, your full retirement age is based on the year that you were actually born. So if you were born in 1937 or earlier, your full retirement age is age 65. If you were born between 1943 and 1954, your full retirement age is 66. And if you were born in 1960 or later, your full retirement age is 67. Now, if you're probably wondering, well, Jen, I was born in between 1954 and 1960. What happens to me then? Well, this is where you'll see that Social Security likes to make everything extremely complicated. And what they do is they add 2 months onto every year after 1954. So, for example, if you were born in 1956, your full retirement age is 66 and 4 months, right? 2 months to every single year above 1954. Now, this is not something you guys need to remember. It's on your Social Security statement. If you look at the statement, it'll tell you exactly what that full retirement age is. But the only reason I stress this is because your full retirement age, again, is the age at which Social Security wants you to be retired. That's where you get 100% of your benefit. If you were to retire at 66 and your full retirement age is 66 and 4 months, guess what? You just retired early, and now you might not have as many benefits should you have waited until your full retirement age. So again, just something to keep in mind when you go ahead and you're ready to start collecting those benefits. So you can start collecting, again, your benefit as early as age 62, and as I just mentioned, it is at a permanently reduced rate for the rest of your life. And it's actually a 25% reduction as early as age 62. And for every single month and year that you get closer to your full retirement age, the more of that pie that you actually receive. But it does go on a month and year basis, right? Again, as the closer you get to 66, the more of that benefit you will actually get. And again, at 66, you'll receive 100% of that benefit. So we're going to stop here right now and open it up for the first polling question. So the first question is what questions should you consider before collecting your Social Security benefits early? Right, so if you can please select one on your screen in front of you on whether you're still working, full-time or part-time, whether you're currently married, or how is your health currently. So please go ahead and select one in front on your screen. All right, and the results are in. And it seems as though this is very interesting that most of you are still working, right? Either full-time or part-time. And again, some of the questions that you should be asking yourself is exactly that. For the main reasons that when collecting your Social Security benefits, some of the major questions that you should be prepared to ask when you're sitting down with your financial advisor is whether you're actually ready to retire. Right? How is your health? How is your longevity? Is there a big age difference between you and your spouse? Are you married? Are you divorced? These are all questions that you need to sit down and be prepared to answer. And, you're probably thinking, well, how am I supposed to know how long I'm supposed to live, right? None of us know. None of us have a magic 8-ball. But based on your family history, you can kind of get an idea as to what that age might be. So if you're like me, I'm a Cuban American, my whole family's from Cuba, I don't know what it is, if it's just the rice and beans or the plantains, but for some strange reason, we all live well into our hundreds, right? So that's what I'm going to put down as my longevity. But clearly everybody's longevity will be different, everybody's family history will be different. If you really are unsure, we do, like I said, statistically, couples reach age 65, one of you has a chance of living until the age of 93. So we can put in, we're automatically going to default to most likely 85 and 90 for a husband and or a wife. All right, so we could put that in as well, unless you let us know differently. Now, the only other question that you should be asking is whether you're really ready to retire. And as many of you just answered, most of you are currently still working, right? And unfortunately, Social Security benefits are for those who are retired. So if you are not retired, meaning you are collecting Social Security benefits and you are previous to your full retirement age, so you're under, let's say 66, for example, if that's your full retirement age, you're going to be subject to the earnings limit test. And what that is really a fancy way of saying, well, Social Security is going to penalize you for collecting your benefits previous to your full retirement age and continue to work, right? So if you continue to work under your full retirement age and you earn over $15,720 in 2016, right, and that actually goes up to about a little over $16,000 in 2017, for every $2 that you make over that limit, Social Security is going to withhold $1. In the year that you turn your full retirement age, so for example, if you turn your full retirement age in June, from January up until June, you're subject to a different limit. You actually can make a little bit more. It's $41,880. So for every $3 you earn above that limit, Social Security is going to withhold $1 of your benefit check. Now, once you've reached your full retirement ages, the good news is the Social Security doesn't matter. It doesn't care whether you work or not, right? You can work until you die, and it does not matter. It is not subject to this earnings test, and you will not be penalized any longer for any type of income you incur from your full retirement age and older, right? This only applies to those who are under their full retirement age and continue working. And there's also something to keep in mind is that this isn't on a pro rata basis, meaning it's not like Social Security is going to take a little bit out of each one of your checks up until they receive what they should have withheld for the year. What they're going to do is withhold every check up until they've withheld everything they should have for the year, and then you'll start receiving a benefit, if at all. So if you are making, let's say, $100,000 this year, right, and you file for Social Security benefits, there's no benefit year is going to be issued, meaning all benefits will be withheld, and you won't receive any Social Security benefit checks that year. So it's something to keep in mind if you are going to decide to continue to work and collect at the same time, and you happen to be under full retirement age. Now, if you're like anybody else, right, we're all human, we make mistakes. Let's say you decide to start taking your Social Security benefits early, and all of a sudden you realize that hanging out with your spouse all day was an extremely poor idea, right? And you're like, I need to go back to work, I can't handle this. Well, Social Security allows you once-in-a-lifetime do-over, right? You decided to collect your benefits, you changed your mind. Now, you only have 12 months from the time that you file to change your mind. So if you file today, you have 12 months from today to decide that you no longer wanted to take your benefits, and you could withdraw to your application, and you could pretend like you never ever took your Social Security benefits. Now, of course, there's a bigger catch. Social Security only allows you to do this one time in your lifetime, like I mentioned, and also the biggest one of all is that you have to pay back everything that you have received thus far from Social Security in order to get your once-in-a-lifetime do-over. So if you start taking benefits, you know, in January and it's now November, you have probably a pretty substantial amount of money you need to return in order to get that withdrawal of application approved. So again, you fill out the application, you have to decide within the first 12 months, you've never done this before, and you've paid back everything you've received thus far, and in addition to anything that any spouse and or child received on your behalf, right, they're collecting off of your record, that also has to go back. And once you all do all that, you fill out the form, which is pretty easy. It's literally the form that you see in front of you. They'll approve your application. You can pretend like you've never taken your benefits, and you won't be penalized in any way, and you can start taking your benefit at a later time when it is that you are ready. Now, we talked a lot about what happens when you take your Social Security benefit early. Well, there are benefits for not taking your Social Security benefit after your full retirement age, all the way through age 70. And what happens is that Social Security allows you to earn delayed retirement credits, meaning they'll pay you not to take your benefit. They'll pay you up to 8% annually and up to a 32% increase at age 70. And again, just like your reduction of benefits, it kind of works the same way with your delayed retirement credits. It works on a month and year basis. So for every single month and year you get closer to your age 70, the more of that 32% that you receive added onto your benefit check, right? So if you have a $2,000 benefit check, they'll add 32% to that check at age 70. And that's not including any cost of living increase. So for example, if you had let's say a 3% COLA by age 67, you've now received an 8% increase in delayed retirement credits and a 3% COLA. So now you've added 11% to your benefit check simply by waiting to collect your benefits at a later time. So I'm going to go over this break-even analysis quickly, and only because this really only helps individuals kind of determine when it is they should start taking their benefits based on their longevity. Because, depending on when you start collecting, there is a point at which no matter when you decide to collect your benefit, you'll make the same amount from Social Security when you pass away. So every analysis that we run here at BlackRock comes with a break-even analysis to allow you to kind of just help, again, determine when it is maybe you should start taking those benefits. So if you don't think that you're going to live till, past age 78, then the break-even analysis is suggesting that maybe you should start taking your benefits at age 62. If you think you're going to live past 82, right, then maybe you should start taking your benefits at age 70. And again, it's just another way to gauge on when to start taking those benefits. In addition, this is a great gauge for those who are individuals, or meaning you are single. So if you're not currently married, The good news is that there's really no strategies you need to employ in order to maximize your benefits. All you have to do is figure out when you're going to pass away, right? Super simple. You figure out when you're going to pass away, we can run a break-even analysis, and you can determine when you start taking those benefits. Because again, as an individual, there's really no strategy. It's just based on life expectancy. But this is a tool that can kind of help you gauge as to when you start taking those benefits. So if you are married, like I mentioned, individuals don't have that many choices, but as a spouse, believe it or not, being married does have some advantages, right? As a spouse, you are eligible for spousal benefits off of your husband and or wife or partner, right? In this case, you have Jordan and Alex. Jordan is collecting $2,200. Alex has a benefit of 0, right? She never filed for, she never qualified for Social Security benefits. So, but she is eligible for half of Jordan's benefit at her full retirement age, right? As long as she's married to him. So the $2,200 is the amount that he's receiving on his benefit. She's eligible for half of that, so the $1,100, right? And she's eligible for those full $1,100 as long as Jordan is collecting and she is full retirement age, right? So again, that sweet spot's your full retirement age. That's when you can collect 100% that you are eligible for. So I would say that the easiest way to remember spousal benefits, guys, is, and this is where everybody gets confused, but the easiest way is that if your spouse is collecting, you're eligible for spousal benefits. If your spouse is not collecting, you are not eligible for spousal benefits. That is the only rule when it comes to Social Security on how to receive spousal benefits off of your spouse. They have to be collecting, right? So if Jordan files his benefit at age 62, Alex is also eligible now to collect at 62, right? But in order for her to receive the full amount, she has to wait until her full retirement age. And as you notice, it doesn't matter that Jordan collects his benefit early. Although he had that 25% reduction on his benefit and is now collecting $1,650, Alex is still eligible for the full $1,100 as long as she collects it at her full retirement age, right? So it doesn't matter when Jordan files, whether it's early, at full retirement age, or later in life. You're only ever eligible for 50% of your spouse's benefit at your full retirement age. And that's because spousal benefits do not increase. They do not earn delayed retirement credits like your individual benefit, but they work the same way if you take them early, right? If you take them early, just like any other Social Security benefit out there, it is going to be at a permanent reduction. And actually, spousal benefits are reduced at a higher rate than your individual benefit. At age 62, it's a 30% reduction. And for every single month and year that you get closer to your full retirement age, again, the more of that you receive. But once you've hit your full retirement age, as you can see, you no longer get any increase, and that's all you're ever going to get. So my tip to everyone is that if you are a spouse and you are full retirement age and your other spouse is currently collecting, there is no rhyme or reason why you shouldn't be collecting spousal benefits if you are eligible, right? Because again, that number is not going to increase, and at that time you're just giving money up to Uncle Sam. So in this case, you see that Jordan did wait until age 70 to file for his benefits. The good news is that he got that 32% increase on his individual benefits. So now he's collecting $2,904. But Alex also had to wait until 70 to collect because, again, the rule is that Jordan has to be collecting in order for Alex to be eligible for spousal benefits. So she waited until 70, and as you notice, that $1,100 didn't increase. She's still eligible only for those $1,100 as the moment that he actually files for his benefit. So now Jordan files for his benefit early. Like I mentioned, now Alex is also eligible, but since she did file at age 62, her benefits now also, that spousal benefits, reduced by 30%. So now she's collecting $770 for the rest of her life, or up until Jordan passes away and she's eligible for survivor benefits. So I'm going to go over this quickly, and only because this only applies to those that have filed and suspended their benefit previous to April 30th of this year. Now, as many of you might have heard, that there were some changes in Social Security during the budget deal last year, November of 2015, that Obama signed, that unfortunately did eliminate two of the more popular strategies that Social Security had to offer to help maximize your benefits. File and suspend was one of them, and I'm sure you hear it around a lot because a lot of people like to use this word. And really what it only means is that you were able to file for your benefit, but suspend taking them until at least 70 and earn delayed retirement credits on your record, right? But still allow a spouse and or dependent child to collect benefits while you wait. So up until now, I told you the only rule is that your spouse has to be collecting in order for you to be eligible for spousal benefits off of their record. But in this case, if you were full retirement age and you filed and suspended your benefit before April 30th, you have been grandfathered into this particular strategy, meaning you can file for your benefit, not take it, but still allow somebody on your record to collect spousal benefits while you wait. Anybody that suspends their benefit from now on, any spouse and or dependent child benefit will also be suspended. So again, same rule applies, spouse has to be collecting, right? But just so you know, anybody who did file before April 30th of this year, you've been grandfathered and these rules still remain for you. So this is something good to know, and most people do not know when it comes to taking Social Security benefits, that when you do take your benefit early, everyone, no matter when you filed, have the ability, once you've reached your full retirement age, to voluntarily suspend receiving your benefits anytime between full retirement age and age 70 and earn delayed retirement credits on your already reduced benefit. Right? So we talked about your withdrawal of application, right, to pretend like nothing ever happened. That's only available after, within the first 12 months of filing. But anybody can do this strategy as long as you've reached your full retirement age, even if you did collect your benefit previous to FRA. Right? So if you're collecting at $16.50 like Jordan did at 62, at full retirement age, he can say, hey, you know what, Social Security, I don't need my benefit anymore. I won the lottery, or whatever reason it might be, and he'll earn delayed retirement credits of up to 8% every single year up until 70, and they receive that 32% increase at age 70 to earn $21.78 for the rest of his life. Now, the only catch to this is, of course, if anyone's collecting on your record, their benefit also stops once you stop taking it. So in this case, Jordan did voluntarily suspend his benefit at full retirement age. So Alex's benefit was also turned off until he goes ahead and files again at age 70. So again, this is available to anybody, kind of allows you to pick up a little bit more of, what you could have received if you didn't take your benefit early. Allows you to increase that benefit, but keep in mind that there are some catches to it, like your spouse's or children's benefit could be turned off at the same time if you are no longer collecting. So if you're probably wondering up until now, well, what happens if I have a benefit of my own, right? What if both spouses have a Social Security benefit because you both qualify to receive benefits off of each other, each record? Well, in this case, you have Jordan, who's collecting $2,200. Alex is collecting $600. So Alex is, in fact, eligible for benefits here, right, for $600. The easiest way to remember, and I would avoid looking at all those crazy numbers on the slide, is that if you are eligible for more than one benefit, right, so your individual and your spousal, what Social Security will do is pay you the highest of the two. Not one plus the other, it's one or the other, right? And this works for all benefits. It's never one plus the other, it's always one or the other, and they'll pay you the highest of any benefit you are eligible for. So in this case, Alex is eligible for $600 or half of Jordan's, right, because that's her spouse. She's eligible for 50%. Half of his benefit's $1,100. So what they do is that they'll give her the remaining $500 to get her to the $1,100. So again, she'll get the highest of the two, and therefore she'll receive the $1,100 versus the $600. And the only thing to keep in mind is that if you do take your benefit early, they are in two pieces, because what they do is they add your benefit plus your spousal benefit, the remainder, to equal the highest of the two numbers, and they reduce it proportionally depending on what type of benefit that it is. So if you took your benefit early, right, your individual, at 62, her benefit was reduced by 25%, so that $600 went down to $450, but her spousal benefit of $500 was reduced by 30%, because remember, spousal benefits are reduced at a higher rate, and now she's collecting $350 for spousal. So altogether, she's collecting $800 for the rest of her life. If she had waited until 70, again, the maximum you can receive is half of your spouse's benefit or your individual benefit, right? The highest of the two. Therefore, since it's the $1,100, the max she'll ever receive is $1,100 at her age 70. So again, don't really need to know exactly how those reductions work. Just understand that they are reduced if taken early, and to always look at both benefits you're eligible for and determine that the highest of the two is what you will be receiving. So as a spouse, again, you are also eligible for survivor benefits, meaning when your spouse passes away, you are eligible for 100% of whatever they were collecting on death. So this is where coming into, deciding when to take your benefits should be made as a collective strategy, right? You should be consulting your spouse, your partner, on when it is that you should start taking your benefits, because how you take them could affect what they'll receive when you pass away, right? Because when you start taking your Social Security benefits, I'm sure, who are you thinking of, right? You're thinking of me, myself, and I, right? How much am I going to receive? Now, many of us are thinking, well, what about my spouse? Right? Well, this is a case where you need to think about your spouse, right? Because again, how much you receive will directly impact how much they can receive once you pass away. So if Jordan filed for his benefits at 63 and 6 months, he's collecting $1,833 per month. If he passes away, Alex is now eligible for those $1,833. If he had waited until age 70, he would have earned those delayed retirement credits we've been talking about, so that 32% increase. He's now collecting $2,904, and when he passes away, she is now eligible for $2,904. All right, so over $1,000 difference simply because Jordan waited to collect his benefit until a later time. Now again, this is important because over half of women today are receiving benefits directly based off of their spouse's record, right? So exactly how Jordan files will directly impact how Alex receives her benefit, right? And how most of you might receive your benefits for the rest of your life. So again, this should be made as a collective decision. And again, BlackRock has one of the only tools in the industry which allows us to run scenarios based on not only a single person, but a married, a divorced, and widowed. So we have the ability to run all different types of situations, and we look at the life expectancy of two people rather than just one. So let's look at some of those collection strategies we've been talking about, right? Let's look at actually, I apologize, we're going to stop here for another polling question. And the question is I currently have an idea of what my collection strategy will be, right? Please answer in front of you whether that is true and or false. And we're going to just pause here for a moment until we get some of those results. Excellent. Wow. All right. Great. So it seems like we have a lot of people who have an idea of what strategy you might employ in order to maximize those benefits, but we also have some who do not, right? So hopefully we can answer all of your questions or verify those strategies for you in the next few slides. So let's look at worst case scenario, right? Let's say you need the income because, again, no wrong and or right way to collect. So in this case, we have Jordan and Alex again. He has a benefit of $2,200. She has a benefit of $600. They're both born 1955, and they're not living very long, right? Longevity is an issue. They're living only till 75 and 84. Both of them collect at age 62, so they collect their permanently reduced rates. Right, if Jordan, a 25% reduction to equal $1,650. Alex is collecting those $800 because she took her spousal benefit early. They collect that for the rest of their life, and they're collecting over $607,000 throughout their lifetime. If they had waited until full retirement age, right, they would have been eligible for the full benefit, right? So $2,200 for Jordan and $1,100 for Alex. And when Jordan passes away, Alex is eligible for those $2,200. And altogether, they'll collect over $633,000 throughout their lifetime. Now, if you look at age 70, right now they've waited as long as they possibly can. They're collecting $2,904, right, for Jordan, and she again is collecting the full $1,100. And then when Jordan passes away, she'll collect the full $2,904. And as you can see, they'll collect over $601,000 throughout their lifetime there at the bottom of the screen. And as you notice, it's also the worst case scenario, right? Because again, waiting until the age of 70 for both spouses is not always the best case scenario. Should have Alex taken her benefit as early as possible, right? So even though it's at a reduction, she'll collect her individual benefit only, right? Because her spousal benefit was not available. Jordan is not collecting. So she collects her $450. Jordan waits until age 70 to collect his $29.04. And then when he files, she's eligible for the additional spousal benefit. So she receives the $500. And then she collects that for the rest of her life until Jordan passes away, and then collects the $29.04. Altogether, they'll collect over $634,000 throughout their lifetime. So this is the best case, this is a tip out there, guys. If you have a higher and lower earner like Jordan and Alex, where there's a big difference between benefits, most of the time, if the lower earner takes it as early as possible and the higher earner takes it as late as possible, that normally yields the best result. As you notice, the numbers didn't change too much, right? All it is that longevity is now, in favor. They're living until 85 and 92, and employing the strategy, they're yielding over $1 million throughout their lifetime. So as you notice, the longer you live and employing a particular strategy, you can really make a lot from Social Security if you know what strategies to employ. So let's look now at what happens when you have spouse and that is born before 1953, right? So if you are born on January 1st, 1954 or earlier, you are eligible to pick which benefit you like to choose. So as I mentioned, there was some changes in November of 2015. This was one of them. But anybody who was born on January 1st, 1954 or earlier, you have been grandfathered into this strategy, meaning you can, again, choose which benefit you would like to take once you've reached your full retirement age. So again, that sweet spot, you have to be full retirement age in order to make these types of decisions. And once you reach your full retirement age, in this case, since Alex has a benefit of $1,800 and Jordan has a benefit of $1,900, Alex can choose to collect half of Jordan's as long as Jordan is collecting, because of course that is the only rule, your spouse has to be collecting. She can collect that $950 from full retirement age until age 70, and then at 70 she can file for her increased individual benefit. Right? So now she can flip over to the highest amount she could possibly get, because from full retirement age until age 70, her benefit was increasing every single year by 8%, because she didn't file for her individual, she only filed for her spouses. Again, this is only available at full retirement age and if you were born on January 1st, 1954 or earlier, but this allows for both spouses to maximize their benefits and receive the most they possibly can from Social Security. And if you employ this particular strategy, you're yielding over $1.2 million over your lifetime. So I suggest if you have a birthday of January 1st, 1954 or earlier, make sure you are telling this to your advisor. So when we go ahead and run these scenarios, we make sure to include that strategy as an eligible strategy for you so that you can pick and choose again which one you would like to employ. So as a widow, you can actually maximize your benefits as well. And the cool thing is about widow benefits is that you can actually pick and choose again which benefit you'd like to take without affecting the other. So in this case, you have Chris. He has a benefit of $2,200. He has a survivor benefit of $2,500, and he's living through the age of 92. So longevity is not an issue, but his spouse passed away, unfortunately, and he can actually decide to take his survivor benefit as early as age 60. So this is where you can collect benefits earlier than 62. It's only when your spouse has passed away. So you can collect as early as age 60, and actually as early as age 50 if you were disabled and you're disabled before your spouse's death. But in most cases, most of you will be 60. You can decide to take that survivor benefit at a reduction, and although at a permanent reduction, your individual benefit is still increasing all the way up until age 70. So at age 70, you can then go ahead and file for your increased individual benefit, and he can flip over to the $2,904. So instead of collecting the $2,200 on his own record or $2,500 on his spouse's record, he's now collecting $2,904 simply by employing this particular strategy. And it goes the other way around as well. Let's say your survivor benefit is higher than your individual benefit. Then maybe you'd like to take your individual benefit as early as age 62 and then take your full retirement age, your survivor benefit at your full retirement age. right? Because survivor benefits do not earn delayed retirement credits, so you wouldn't wait past full retirement age to collect your survivor benefit. If you employ the strategy, again, you're milling over $1 million throughout your lifetime. The good thing is that, again, this is a strategy that we would be able to run for you, so you don't need to determine this on your own. Again, this is just an example of a strategy that you can employ if this were to happen to you, and we can run it through our tool and help you determine, again, what's the best case scenario. So let's look at divorce benefits, right? This is everyone's favorite part of the presentation, and probably you're thinking, well, it's because, hey, who doesn't know somebody who's been divorced if you haven't been divorced yourself? Right? And the good thing is that as a divorced spouse, you're eligible for spousal benefits and survivor benefits off of your ex-spouse as if you guys were married. And all you have to do is you had to have been married to that spouse for at least 10 years. You have to remain unmarried yourself, right? Not your spouse. You have to remain unmarried. Both of you have to be at least age 62, and you have to be at least divorced for 2 years unless your spouse is currently collecting in order for you to be eligible for half of their benefit at your full retirement age and 100% when they pass away. Now the good thing is that they don't need to know, right? Their benefits not decrease in the least by you collecting off of their record, and they don't get notified that you're collecting off of their record, right? The only way they'll ever know that you're collecting off of them is if you'd like to send them a nice little note saying, ha ha ha, still collecting off of you, right? Other than that, they would never need to know. All you have to do to go to Social Security with your marriage certificate and your divorce decree, and they will tell you what your eligible benefits are off of that ex-spouse. Now, if you do get remarried, unfortunately, you do lose the benefits that you were eligible for off of that ex-spouse, and after a year, you're now eligible off of your new spouse, right? But let's say you get divorced again, right? Now you've been divorced twice. As long as you made those qualifications that you were married to both those spouses for 10 years, you remain unmarried, both of you are at least 62, and you guys have been divorced for at least 2 years to each spouse, you can now do a little bit of shopping, right? And who doesn't like to do a little bit of shopping? You go down to Social Security with your divorce decree and your marriage certificate for each spouse, and you say, hey, you know what, Social Security, which spouse paid me the most? I'd like to collect off of them, right? So, and they'll give you the eligible benefits, and you could choose, obviously, the higher benefit and start collecting off of their record. You know, just to give you an example of kind of how it works, I'm sure all of you guys remember Johnny Carson, right? Johnny Carson was married, as many of you might know, 4 times, 4 different times, and 3 of his 4 wives were collecting benefits off of his record while he was alive, all collecting the same exact amount and all collecting the same amount when he passed away. So you can see kind of where Social Security went a little wonky, right? They're all collecting the same amount because they all met those requirements. Now the same thing goes the other way around though. Like think of Larry King. He was married 8 times, right? Clearly the man does not know how to date, right? He was actually married to the same wife twice. And none of them, actually only one, is in the running to possibly collect spousal benefits off of his record because he wasn't married to any one of them for at least 10 years. So it kind of gives you an example of how that works. And again, once they pass away, right, you are eligible for 100% as long as you were married to them for 10 years. You remain unmarried, or you remarry after the age of 60, and you're at least age 60 years old when you file for benefits. So again, this is the only time that you can remarry and still choose between your benefits, right? You can remarry at age 60 or older, and this only works if your spouse has passed away, right, and still decide which benefit you'd like to take, whether it's your individual, whether it's that survivor benefit, or whether it's off of your new spouse, right? So again, this is where you would just have to get all of your eligible benefits from Social Security, and we can help determine what that might be for you. So of course, no good presentation can ever end without talking about taxes. If you guys think that you can get away without paying taxes and Social Security benefits, some of you will, some of you won't, right? Of course, you pay taxes on the way in and most likely on the way out. And the way that Social Security kind of thinks of it is that they look at your provisional income. And the provisional income is derived of half your Social Security benefits plus your modified adjusted gross income, and they apply it to the chart in front of you. So if you're married filing jointly and you make between $0 and $32,000, none of your benefits will be taxed. If you make between $32,000 and $44,000, up to 50% of your benefits could be taxed. And if you make over $44,000 married and filing jointly, up to 85% of your benefits could be taxed. So again, not 85% taxed, it's 85% of your benefit could be taxed at your marginal tax rate. So if you're probably thinking, well, Jen, that's a really big disparity between 7 and 85%. And you're absolutely right. Unfortunately, there are a lot of factors that go into how your benefits are taxed. And I would suggest, if you're worried about how much it is and where you fall into that bucket, to make sure to reach out to a tax professional, CPA, who will be able to look at your situation and tell you exactly how your benefits will be taxed. Because, like I mentioned before, if you take your benefits early, it's at a reduction. If you take your benefits early while continuing to work, your benefits could be withheld. On top of that, if you're 65 or older and you're collecting Medicare, your premiums are coming out of your Social Security benefit check. So now you have reductions, withholdings, your premiums coming out, and all of a sudden that benefit check that you thought you were going to get on a monthly basis has decreased greatly, right? Because Social Security benefits, again, guys, are a supplemental income. This should not be your only retirement plan. But it can be a very important one because, like I mentioned, as the way that you decide to take it can affect how you receive your benefits for the rest of your life. And we want to make sure that you're receiving as much as you can to get through retirement comfortably. So that's why we always suggest sit down with your financial advisor, bring in your Social Security statement, and go over your options. See what it is that's best for you to take. And again, also talk to them about how much, what you're going to decide to do to make sure you're making up for any type of gap to get through your retirement comfortably. So with that, I want to say again, thank you for all of your time, and we are going to stop there right now to open it up for any type of questions.
Thank you, Jennifer. We appreciate you sharing your time and knowledge with everyone here today. We will now start by addressing some of the questions that have been filtering in. And please remember that if you have any questions, you can continue to submit them in the Q&A tool on the webinar menu. Our first question here is, we have a few. Let's see. So, can each spouse receive benefits on the other's Social Security? Meaning, do each spouse get 2 benefits or 4 for the couple, each for their own work and each for their spouse's benefit?
That's an excellent question. That's a question we often receive. And of course, you're probably wondering that most likely it's not, right? You can't receive off of each other. So basically, if one spouse is receiving spousal benefits, the other one cannot also receive spousal benefits as well. So it's one or the other can receive it at a time. And again, like I mentioned, you're not receiving, one benefit plus the other. What you're doing is you're receiving the highest of the 2 benefits that you are eligible for. And again, only one spouse can collect spousal benefits off of the other's record at a single time.
Thank you. And then the next one I think you may have answered, but just to reiterate might be good.
Sure.
So for survivor benefits, when can those be collected by the surviving spouse?
Sure. Again, the earliest that you can collect survivor benefits is at age 60, and that's if you're not disabled, right? The earliest you can collect that. If you are disabled, you can collect them as early as age 50, and as long as you were disabled and disabled before your spouse's death. Now, of course, and I'm just going to mention this quickly, if you are a young spouse, meaning you have a spouse who's collecting Social Security benefits, but you're under the age of 62 and you're taking care of children under the age of 16, you are eligible for benefits at any time, right? So as long as you have a child that you're taking care of under the age of 16, you're eligible to receive, 75% of that survivor benefit once your spouse passes away. So your children also are eligible to receive 75% of that benefit up to a family maximum all the way up until the age of 18. So young spouse benefits end at 16 and children benefits end at 18. But just something to keep in mind that if you are, you have a spouse that has passed away and you are under the age of 62 and have children, that is definitely something you need to talk to your advisor because there could be benefits that you might be eligible to receive off of their record even before age 60.
Great, thank you. We got a couple questions here regarding if there will be a recording available as well as a slide deck, and the answer to that is yes. We will be sending out an email to everyone who received the invite. We generally do it a week from today, but since that will be Thanksgiving, we'll go ahead and send that out on Wednesday prior. So look out for an email from us for that. Let's see here. And Yeah, a couple questions on that, so sounds like it was a good presentation. So we got a question here. What happens if your Social Security, if both parents die before collecting all and children are over 18 years of age?
So if the children are over 18, unfortunately, they are not eligible for any more child benefits. But like I mentioned, the earliest you can receive survivor benefits off of a deceased spouse is age 60, most of the time unless you're disabled. So once your children stop receiving benefits, unfortunately, yes, you are no longer receiving benefits off of their, on that record, and you'd have to wait until you're now of retirement age to start receiving benefits off of your deceased spouse.
Great. Let's see. So then, this may be another one that you have answered, but can a spouse collect the spousal benefit and still work without incurring a penalty?
That's an excellent question as well. So as a spouse, you are collecting benefits off of the other person's record. So it does apply. Earnings test applies to anybody collecting previous to their full retirement age and continuing to work. So although it might be a spouse's benefit, you're still subject to the earnings test. As well as most people don't know this, is that if you have a spouse who's under the age of full retirement age, and they are collecting spousal benefit, and they have a spouse who's collecting spousal benefits off of their record, and they continue to work, but the other spouse does not, right? So this is a good example. Let's say the husband is 62, right, and decides to start taking benefits, and has a spouse who's also age 62 collecting spousal benefits off of his record. If he continues to work, although she might not, she's also subject to that earnings test because it's off of his record. So if he's earning more than the limit and his benefits are being withheld, his spousal benefits on his record for the wife will also be withheld. So this is, again, something that you need to talk to your advisor about when you decide to take benefits early and you have a spouse who's collecting off of you, because you will directly impact how much they receive as well.
Great. And I think we will do one more here. Got one that just came in. My wife is a retired teacher collecting TRS retirement. Is she eligible to receive spousal benefits when I draw benefits?
Wow, these are all great questions, guys. So excellent question with that. When you're talking about somebody who's collecting a pension in which they did not contribute Social Security taxes, so it only matters for government, state, or foreign pensions where you didn't contribute Social Security taxes, you will be subject to what is called a government pension offset on any spousal or survivor benefits you might be eligible for. And what they do is they take 2/3 of your pension and they subtract it from any eligible spousal benefit you might receive. So, your benefits could be wiped to zero depending on how big your pension is, right? So if you have, let's say, a $1,000 spousal benefit and your pension is $7,000, clearly 2/3 of that pension will wipe out your $1,000. So it depends, right? If she's a teacher, we would need to see exactly how much her pension is, how much her spousal benefit is, and see if she is eligible for anything. It's possible she may not, because the way that they work is that Social Security doesn't really want you double dipping, right? They don't want you collecting a pension and collecting Social Security benefits if you haven't been paying into it long enough. As well as your individual benefits might be affected. So anybody who's not filed for benefits, who's collecting a pension, again, a government, state, or foreign pension where they didn't contribute taxes, their individual benefit will be subject to the windfall elimination provision. Again, fancy way of them saying, I don't want you double dipping, but that benefit will not be wiped to zero. If you are eligible for benefits, for Social Security benefits, the most they can reduce your benefit is by half of your pension. So something to keep in mind, you will receive benefits, at least on your individual benefit, but it's possible you don't receive anything via spousal or survivor depending on how much your pension is. I know that's really complicated, so if your head's spinning, again, this is where you need to see your financial advisor, because these are great things that you need to make sure you're letting them know. And if you are collecting a pension, the biggest tip I can give you is make sure you come into that office with your full Social Security statement, including the earnings history, because that is the only way we'll be able to determine those calculations for you.
Great. Thank you so much, Jennifer. That will conclude the webinar session. Thank you again for all you attendees who have participated. I hope everyone has a great day, and we look forward to our next webinar series with you. Take care.